Getting a Philippine driver's license was surprisingly easy. When you first arrive in the Philippines, if your license is in English, you can drive for 90 days on your foreign license. There is no reason to get an international license unless you just feel like it. After the first 90 days, you are expected to get a Philippine license if you're going to drive. I have been here for almost 9 years. I hadn't bothered getting a license because I don't drive, don't care. I was thinking about it just because it would be nice to have a government ID other than my alien registration card. Also, if my Texas license expires, if I have a current Philippine license, next time I'm in the US, I can convert it to a Texas license, which means no testing. I could pass the test, but who wants to mess with that at my age? So I've been blowing it off for 9 years. I keep thinking, maybe I'll get this license converted. It's an easy process, just hadn't got around to it. Time means nothing, right? Well, I met a new expat. Nice guy, but I don't mean this in a bad way. Like many of the new guys, he's in a hurry. Got to get it done. Everything's got to be done right now. So he was in a big hurry to get his license. I'm like, well, let's go. Because he was asking me about it. And I was like, well, I haven't done it, but theoretically, I know how it's done. So we decided to run down there together and get our license converted because it sounds relatively easy. When we did our license, because of COVID, we had to have an appointment. I looked on their Facebook page, on their website. Nowhere did it say we needed an appointment, and certainly was there nowhere to make an appointment. But I kind of thought we'd need one. So we make a trip to Haro, because here in Iloilo, the main office is in Haro. You can do renewals at satellite offices, but the conversion has to be done at their main office. We get there, we ask the guard, he says you need an appointment. So we make an appointment, but while we're there, we get the application form and go ahead and take care of the medical check. That way when we come back, we'll have it all done. The list of requirements is very simple. On all of these documents, you will need the original and a copy. They want to see the original and they want to keep the copy. You will need the original and copy of your driver's license. Go ahead and do front and back because I think they want it. Your passport with the basic things of the information page, your last entry, things like that. They're going to want to see all of that. You're going to need a copy of your visa or your ACR. They asked me for both, but I already had it. My visa is a stamp in the passport, so I had a copy of that, and I had a copy of the ACR, so I was covered. Medical certificate done within the last 15 days. Easy enough because there's always medical offices right near the LTO. You're going to need the application form. If you've ever done immigration with their easy form, this is even easier. It's just your basic, name, address, blah, blah, blah. Have you had a license before? All this, just basic. The only thing was when they asked my mother's name, they didn't ask her maiden name, and they just assumed I would give her maiden name. So I had to go out. They called me up, and I had to correct the form. If you want the maiden name, ask for it. And my middle name confused them because my middle name has nothing to do with either of my parents. That's a Filipino thing. It's done tradition, not law, but it confuses them if you don't have it. They're like, Andrew, is your mom's last name Andrew? I'm like, nope. And they're like, because they're easily confused. It's not a problem. It's kind of funny. If you're employed, you will need a tax ID number. And the last thing on the list is a negative drug test. Sometimes you need a negative drug test. Sometimes you don't. Their website At the moment, says you do. This is off the government website. But when I got there, we didn't need it. But I wanted to be prepared, so I was studying. I can roll them one-handed. I can identify the pills by... Wait, what? It's not that kind of test? Never mind. But at the moment, a drug test is not required. That comes and goes. So, if you need one, you can probably get it at the same medical clinic across the street where you get your medical. One of the requirements is you have to be here at least a month before you get your license. And you have to prove you're going to be here at least another year. So you're looking at least a 13-month stay. And if you're on a tourist visa, you can't do it. Used to, you could. You didn't have to have that 1-year stay verification. They don't want tourists here for more than 90 days driving. I guess they're in the opinion that if you're here that long, you're not really a tourist, so you need to do something more permanent. So they're kind of, some of these rules come and go, and depending on the office you go to, some are enforced differently. They did look at my visa. I am on a spouse visa, which is a permanent visa, so I am definitely can be here more than a year. For most of us, it's going to either be the spouse visa or the SRRV, the retirement visa. There are work visas, student visas. There are others that will cover 1 year. But for most of us, it's not really applicable. But a tourist visa, according to the rules, will not work. According to your local office, it might. You never know. When I was doing the medical check, I looked over and there's like 3 medical clinics right there across the street. I figured it didn't matter which one, but as we were going, they all said, go to that one. Go to that one. As we're crossing the street, the hawkers in the streets are like, go to that one. Everyone is steering us to this one. I'm like, well, if that's the system, I'm going to go to that one. So I went into it. They got my information. And they gave me a card, and I didn't realize at first, but the card with the number had the name of a different clinic. There's 3 clinics, and they want to make sure they all get their fair share. So you go into the one to get on the list, and then they send you to the other clinics or to their clinic and spread it out so everybody gets the expat that was with me. He was either right in front of me or right behind me. I don't remember which. He went to a different clinic. So they're sending one here, one here, one there, so everybody gets a share of the money. The medical check was 500 pesos, $10. It was extremely easy. I don't even want to say how easy it was, but I think they could have propped my dead body in the chair and I would have passed. It was, if you can pay 500 pesos, you will pass this medical check. Not a problem. The only problem I really had, it's your basic, you go in, you do your paperwork. It's easy, but slightly time consuming, as any government office is in any country. That's just normal. And this one gets really busy. So it can get a long wait. The appointments were not for any particular time. It was just you're on the list for this day. So anytime you show up, you're on the list. I wanted to get there before it got too crowded. They open at 8 in the morning. I got there 20 minutes before 8. I was the first person in line. I was kind of surprised about that. But within a few minutes, the line started forming. I'm a trendsetter. I really thought people would be there earlier, but by the time 8 o'clock rolled around, there were 25 people in line. I went in, they looked at all my paperwork. The lady, for being the first customer of the day, she was already grumpy. She's like, I guess because I was a foreigner and that's not normal. But she was like, you're going to need a copy of your passport. And I'm like, here you go. You're going to need a copy. And I'm like, here you go. You're going to need a medical check. Here you go. I had everything, all my copies, all my originals, my medical. Well, let me get you an application. I go, here's the application, because I had all of it. I was completely ready. She's looking at it, she goes, and then just, oh, okay. It was nice as could be. I'm like, wow, I don't know. She wanted to be in a bad mood, and I cheered her up. I'm just that way. But I was the first one. I get inside. First one in the office. There's a whole wall of windows. You know, you got the check-in and the pay window and the camera window and the fingerprint window, and only 2 of them had people. I was like, okay. So it's like 8:05. I'm sitting down. And there's 2 people, and they're reading the paper. And then another person comes in and sits. And then they are all chatting and talking. And people that were in line behind me are filling up this office. And they're talking and chatting, and they've called no one up. And I'm like, oh, maybe they don't open till 8:30. Around 8:35, I'm like, maybe they don't open till 9? So yes, the front where they check us in opened at 8. The desk where they actually do the work didn't open until 9. So I got there way earlier than everyone said they open at 8. And to let you in, they do open at 8. But the clerks doing the work didn't open till 9. So 9 o'clock, they called me up. I was the second person called. The first one was an in-uniform Coast Guard worker. And I guess maybe she got called first because she's in uniform. I wasn't going to argue. I was called up second. They looked at my paperwork, questioned me on my mother's maiden name, sent me to the other window to pay. I go pay. They send me to a window to get my picture taken and do the electronic fingerprints. Then they say, sit down. They'll call you when they're ready. So I sit down, and they call me to this back room I didn't even see. I thought it was a broken door to a locked toilet. I mean, it was this really weird little door. That's where they print the actual license. Called me in, did fingerprints again, had me look at all the paperwork and verify it all again, which is probably not a bad idea. Then he pops the little driver's license in the machine, starts printing it. I'm thinking, they're printing it. This is going to be easy. And he's going through all the paperwork. Then he says, we'll mail it to you. You'll get it in a week to 10 days. I'm thinking, okay, but you're printing it. Just give it to me. No, they're going to mail it to you. I don't know why. Maybe they have to verify it. Whatever. I'm easy. The receipt they give you will allow you to drive if you're going to drive. I still have no interest in driving. I'm just doing this to have another form of ID. And in case my Texas license goes bad, you can renew it, I think, Texas twice online, maybe once. I'm not sure. Then you have to go back in person to do it. I don't know when my next trip to the U.S. is going to be. I don't want the license to accidentally expire. This will protect it, because now I have a Philippine license. If my Texas one expires, I can go to Texas with my Philippine license and convert it. Mostly I just thought it would be nice to have another government ID, and what the hell. So the guy that went with me, he went on, his appointment was a different day, so he went like on Tuesday, and the very next Wednesday, it was a week later, he got his license in the mail here at the condo. My address is still out in the province because I asked immigration, and they said, if you own that house, that's your permanent address. Don't worry about the rental. So that is my permanent address. So everything is listed out in the province. Three and a half weeks to get 10 miles away. I could have walked to LTO, got my license, walked it to the post office, and it would have been faster. But looking at the dates, it says it got to Oton within a week. But I had family going to the post office checking, and they kept saying it was not there. According to the stamp on the envelope, it was there. So it was there and they didn't know it. It was lost. I don't know. It was 3.5 weeks to get from Iloilo 10 miles away to Oton. The post office works, but it's slow. It doesn't really matter because I got it. When you get to LTO, there are lots of people that want to help you. There's copy stores, there's the doctor's offices, I don't know, there's a lot of people that don't seem to have anything to do that are trying to help me somehow. How they're going to help me, other than getting the doctor's visit and the copies, what else do I need? Because a fixer can't go in there and do my fingerprints. So I don't know. But there's tons of people that want to rush over and help you. Ignore them all. Talk to the security guard. Get inside, see what you need. The medical check is across the street. You go into the clinic. You don't need anybody to escort you into the clinic. They will happily escort you for a tip. I can open a door myself. I don't mess with those commissioners out on the street, the fixers, whatever. I don't mess with them at all. Get the medical. Get all your copies. It's really simple. It's a very short list of things. The only issue, as I said, is sometimes you need a drug test, sometimes you don't. I did not. The website still says I do. So, I don't care. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. When you show up, you'll find out. I would imagine it's just piss in a cup, which I used to work for the government. Anybody hands me a cup, I'm ready to pee. I'm like, yeah, I got a cup, I'll fill it. I don't care. I'm easy. But I have my driver's license now. And look at this picture. I know my hair is kind of white and it does not look good, but on a white background, it's like my head stops here. All of this is invisible on the picture. It's really, really bad. I know driver's license pictures are supposed to be bad, but this one's really freaking funny. So I was just checking it because I wasn't sure. I knew it was good until 2026. I'm getting it. I got it in November, middle of November. I went, it was the first week of November, and got it on Thanksgiving Day. So, I mean, it was, like I said, 3.5 weeks. I knew it expired in 2026, so it's basically 5 years, but I wasn't sure what date, and I did just check. It expires on my birthday of 2026. So it's mostly 5 years. I should have done it in February, and I would have got almost an extra year out of it. The fees are very reasonable. Like I said, the medical check was $500. The fee was about 750 pesos. Covers all your basics. It'll have a breakdown of all the fees. You know, you're paying for this and you're paying for that and the printing and this and 750 pesos. Who cares what it's for? So the whole thing was under $25, including the taxi to get there. So I'm a somebody. Woo! Yeah, ain't that great? Really easy. Very simple. The people there, generally, I have a good experience with government offices here. Everyone there was really friendly, really helpful. That first lady seemed kind of grumpy when I got to her, and then she cheered up. So I don't know what her deal was, but I mean, other than that, it was pretty good. It was much better than going to the DPS in Texas. It's Department of Public Safety there, not the DMV. They're really grumpy. They don't like their job, and they don't want to help you. And really, I don't find that here. Everyone here was very helpful. They were very friendly. It was just not a problem at all. And that going into the check-in with all my paperwork, I had all my originals, all my copies, my application, my medical, everything done when I went to check in. She's like, well, whatever, oh, it's all here. Cool, come on in. because I think she was expecting me to be a problem. Oh, God, he's going to have to speak English to this guy. He's not going to have any of his paperwork, and he's going to get grumpy and mad. Because I think that's kind of the impression. It's what they expect of us, which is unfortunate, because I try not to be grumpy and mad. So she was kind of grumpy at first until she saw that I was nice and had all my paperwork. Then she was happy. Whole procedure total was 2 hours. And an hour and 10 minutes of that was waiting for them to open. Because like I said, they let us in at 8, but they don't open till 9. Once they called me up, there were about 40 people behind me. They really should have started at the same time. When they let you in at 8, they should start working at 8. Or not let us in till 9, because they started at 9 o'clock, 40 people deep. So they're already busy. That seemed kind of an odd way to do it. But whatever. I was second in line. I can't complain. Well, I was first in line, second to be called up. I'm okay with that. So the license was very easy, very fast, simple to get. Took a little while for the mail to get it to me, but that's my fault for not having it mailed in the city. It's good for 5 years, it's cheap, and I didn't have to take a test. So it's all good, man.
Enjoy your day
I'm a
in
somebody.
paradise.